Alright, guys. Let me make sure I'm okay for the camera. Let's see here. See, I told you guys, I have it on my phone. Alright. Let's see here. Let's see what I look like. Looks good. Look how sexy that looks. Oh, sorry. Thought it was a mirror. Mirrors usually break. Alright, so hi, my name is Daryl Phillips, owner of No Apology Gaming, and what we do here is listen to talk. Happy Friday. I hope that everyone has had a wonderful week. The farther and farther and farther I get away from the devastation to my heart and to my friends' hearts that Dwan's passing left in his wake, the more I realize that I think I'm going to be okay. I say that to you guys, especially with the subject matter tonight, because one of the things that is so vital to thinking things through, to changing things about yourself, to changing other people, is the idea of critical thinking. It's more than just how fast you can think in a moment, yeah? Okay, but the speed comes from knowing what you're doing, all right? Now, if you guys are new to this channel, please, by all means, subscribe. These are sort of things I talk about. I know that maybe you have stuff to do. It's Friday night or whatever, so you can watch it later. But this is vital, all right? Because I'm going to be releasing my video on Monday. What's up, little Sophia? My little Sophia. She's going to be the moderator for tonight, y'all. So anyway, so I'll be releasing my video on Monday about no distractions. And you need to, I don't really think I need to say this, but it's worthy for me to say it anyway. You're not supposed to be thinking about whatever decision you're making, like with a bunch of just things around you, okay? And what I mean is, you can have music on your ears. In fact, music, I believe, and I believe that the Bible teaches, as a Christian, the Bible teaches that music was one of those things that's just in us. After all, the angels sang when the foundations of the earth were put down. So I think that it's also one of the forms of the way God wants you to worship Him is by singing in church and things. So music is wonderful for the soul. It can be great relief to go outside by yourself and think about things like that. But what I mean is, you don't want, and I know a lot of people will watch TV and how you doing, Lori? So I know many people will go out or go in their house or whatever, or go out and watch a movie or whatever, and they think that, they're thinking about their day and they're not really watching the movie. And you say, well, what's wrong with that, Daryl? Well, here's the thing. It is not physically possible. Now, you're more than welcome to have a conversation with me about it, but not tonight. But you're more than welcome to DM me. We could have a discussion about it. But it is not possible for you to watch a movie or watch TV or get into a show and also think about your day and what you're supposed to be doing. It's just not possible. That's why my mom, that's why parents will tell you, no, don't do this stuff. That's why phones in some places are being made where you can't use them in school now. Those sorts of things are distractions. But also, what can be a distraction, even if you're not on that, is other people continually being in your ears, right? And continually chirping, okay? Once you've decided that you're going to try to make the decision, you need to go away from those people. You need to really just think it through. The thing about critical thinking, though, is you may not have time for that. What do you do? In other words, clearly something like a fire in your house, where you have to get out of the house. Critical thinking. Someone's after you. You're in danger. Someone's dying and you have to save them. Those are critical thinking moments. It's why not everybody can be a doctor and can be in the emergency room. Even in the medical community, there's some people that just are regular doctors that are better. There's some doctors and nurses that are better in the emergency room as compared to outside. It just takes a different kind of person. In fact, Sophia's daughter is a paramedic, and she has to think quickly. She has to react quickly. So those are clear examples of critical thinking moments. But not everybody's a doctor. Not everybody's a lawyer, where they have to maybe a judge does a ruling where they have to react quickly. Maybe their client goes to jail. Not everybody has those positions. What about life? So what I'm going to do tonight, now I asked you guys on Wednesday to think about some of the things I was talking about and give me some stuff from your own life. Give me some stuff we can talk about from your own life. But I also want you to listen to me. I want you to listen to what I'm saying to you. And I want you to react to some of these situations that some of them I've actually had to go through, and some of them are things just to think on. Okay? And let's first start with, what do you need? What do you need to actually make a decision properly in a stressful moment? Because not everybody's good at it, and it's not taught in schools now. Critical thinking is not taught in schools. So it's great. It's all great for me to teach you things about the founding fathers or Christianity or bipolar disorder, and we have a lovely conversation, but in the moment, you stress out and panic. How do you make the decision? Because Daryl is very, very calm now in stressful situations. Other people around me may, I'm not necessarily talking about my friends, but I'm just saying other people around me may panic or they start to not make decisions correctly, or they break down. But Daryl knows how to be calm now. It's not the way it started. Unfortunately, my disorder, okay, causes me to think erratically, especially when I didn't know how to control any of it. So let's add that to the heap of pile of things that you have to know, that first, not everybody's the same. Okay? So for normal folk, some of the situations that I was in, people just look at me and go, how the heck did you get through that? Well, that's a conversation, isn't it? But on top of it, just imagine this. So I'm gonna start it like this. Imagine this. I'm 18 years old. Okay. I was raised. Hold on. Yes, Sophia. Time to put on your thinking caps. All All right, so I want you guys to listen to this. So when I was 18 years old, I had been out of the group home, and I'd only been diagnosed with bipolar disorder for less than a year at this moment. And it wasn't going too well. I tried to live with my uncle. I'm not going to sit there and talk bad about him. He did try to help me. There was no helping me. And you'll understand why. Okay? But I was raised in Luck, Wisconsin, a town of 1,000. Country is all get out. And, you know, we lived way out. I mean, think about this. To go shopping, real shopping, it was an hour drive to the Twin Cities. So that's the way I was raised. I was raised in a Christian household, which means that I never saw evil. I never saw darkness. Alcohol was kept away from me. I never saw people drink. I can think of 2 stories in which I remember a beer can being in the trash can. Most certainly drugs wasn't around me. Now, some of my friends, maybe they might have smoked marijuana. And yes, it is true that I went to that party and had my first cigarette, my first joint, and my first drink at the same day. But besides that moment, that was it. That was later on in life, or that was later on in my childhood. That was when I was 17. So I never saw that stuff. Okay, didn't know about life. Didn't know about how the world worked. You say, well, most people don't when they're that age. Nah, I was pretty sheltered. My mom and dad didn't want that sort of thing. My dad's a preacher. Mom and dad didn't want that sort of thing around me. Okay? So, put this in your pot right now. So I wasn't raised in a city. No traffic lights. I think they put 1 traffic light in Luck after I left on the main street. No traffic lights, stop signs. It was 20 miles to the church building where my dad preached at. My dad had an hour drive, worked one way and an hour drive back to go to his, when he started working the second job. So we lived out in the country. Had chickens, animals on the farm, had fresh farm. I mean, there's all sorts of wonderful stories I could tell you. But in this case, I'm trying to get you to understand the amount of knowledge that I had about city life. Okay? And I was so tired of the country back then. And I used to dream about living in the Twin Cities, or living, not the Twin Cities necessarily, but I loved going to the cities and going to shopping because it was all this stuff, and there was lights and there was a city. But I loved coming to Texas to visit my family. And that's the other part of this. I had my family. My family loved me, and I loved them, me and Jacqueline. And then Emily arrived, in 92, something like that. I think Emily is only 2 years older than Amanda, Sophia's daughter. So Emily's significantly younger than me. So we had my mom was a great cook. We had homemade cooking. There was no going out to eat and things like that. And it was a treat to go out to eat anyways. And so that's the way I was raised. That's the way I was around. And so when I got diagnosed with bipolar less than a year earlier, everything changed. Instantly. I went from that life to I'm telling you, y'all, my mom had made the Christmases so beautiful, the holidays so beautiful. On my birthday, it was one of them. I mean, I was the most special human being on the planet on my birthday. It was my day. And in an instant, it was taken from me like that. And so, but I had issues. Real, bona fide, messed up issues. And I was rebelling badly. I was rebelling against myself for the most part. I was so confused about I mean, I didn't know anything about bipolar disorder. All I knew is that people thought I was crazy. People just looked at me. I went from being loved and adored by my family to everyone looking at me like a sick child. To everyone looking at me like I was a problem child. Instead of being having everything that I ever wanted, I had nothing. Okay? I went from having friends and going to school to not even graduating high school. Do you see where I'm sitting at the table here? Y'all understand? This is where I was the first time I was homeless. This is my mind frame. I knew nothing. Nothing. It's not even like I had the education I mean, heck, my school was small, But it's not even like I had the education of even living and having a 7-Eleven on the corner. Just nothing. But when I got out of the group home, my uncle and I would fight a lot, and it got worse and worse. And we came to physical blows a couple times. I was so, from the outside, without knowing anything I just told you, I really looked crazy. Okay, y'all know how I feel about that word, but I really did. I looked crazy. I felt crazy. So when I made that phone call to my mother, so I need to give you guys this piece of information to add to the pot of what I had available to me when I was homeless for the first time. I had made a phone call to my mother, and she knew it wasn't going to work out between me and my uncle. So she told me, she just knew. I'm not going to get into the situation with me and my uncle back then. But my mom, to say the least, was not very pleased with her brother. So she knew I couldn't stay with him. So she said, let's try to get you in a homeless shelter. Well, I tried it for a day. But here's my first piece of knowledge that I had to add to my repertoire when I was first on the streets, is that they have a bedtime. They have rules. They have regulations, and I was not trying to hear rules and regulations at that moment. Okay? I had got out of a hospital. Okay? I wasn't trying to hear nothing about bedtimes. I wasn't trying to hear nothing about... And it was impossible to tell me about the greater good. I thought you were full of crap. So you can see where the mind frame isn't right. I should have Well, I'll let you guys decide this, because I have a thing about this that I will tell you afterwards. What I want you guys to discuss is put everything I just told you into this pot, and I'll add some more stuff in a second. This is what you have. You don't have your past. You have mine. You have this. This is what you have available to you to make a decision. So let's add some more to the pot. I'm very good with geography. My memorization skills are out of this world amazing. You can ask anybody who knows me that I have the ability to remember anything. Okay? So this is to be added to the pot. So these are skills that I can use to help myself. I do know stuff. Now, not about city life, not about living in the city. But I know my stuff. And I'm very smart, and I pick up on things very quickly. So these are all things that you can add to your pot. But as far as survival skills and things like that, maybe if I was out in the country, but I was in the city. These are different kinds of survival skills. All right, so you follow me so far? I will tell you what I did. What I did at first. All right? And by all means, have a conversation amongst yourselves. And what would you do in this situation? How would you deal with it? But I want you to listen to everything I'm saying to you. This is more of an example of just, I made so many mistakes, critical thinking wise. And what you guys need to understand about yourselves, about whatever decision making you're making, and how you can get better at it. So, I can tell you what mistake one was, and if you haven't figured it out, I've already said it. I've already said mistake one, so by all means, what do you guys tell me? What was the mistake I already made? I already made the mistake, and I haven't even told you guys anything. Well, two technically. I'll say one, because technically the second mistake isn't necessarily a mistake so much as I was messed up. But see, that's kind of the point. The first mistake that I made was one I made before I even stepped off foot on the streets. And that was my inability to accept rules and regulations at any level. And you can say, well, but Daryl, you were having problems. Which goes into, to be honest with you, if I was going to rehash that, I had a time machine, I would go tell myself, Daryl, you need to check yourself into the hospital. But of course, I would not have listened to myself either. I should have went back to the hospital. I should have. I realize that now. I should have went back to the hospital. And I did try that week because I was feeling suicidal, but then I checked myself right back out. Had I had any amount of patience, I should have checked myself into the hospital and got a social worker, and that a lot of things would have been different. But I didn't do that. So you can see where this is going. My critical thinking skills were not available to me in the city just yet. In other words, I didn't have enough city skills to have critical thinking skills. I was going to make some serious mistakes because I just didn't know. But the truth of the matter is the whole thing should have never happened in the first place because I should have checked myself into a hospital. All right? Okay. But that didn't happen. And I sure as heck, and I didn't check myself into the homeless shelter. See, when my mom gave me the advice, she didn't tell me to go. I interpreted her advice. I wanted to get away from the situation with my uncle so badly. I interpreted her advice as just get out of there, whatever. That's not what my mother's advice was. Mother's advice wasn't go be homeless. Do y'all really think that my mother told me to go be homeless? No. What she told me was go to the homeless shelter. There is a difference between a person living on the streets and a homeless shelter. Trust me. Juan never lived on the streets. Oh, he did a couple. He had to a couple times, but I'm saying that he never lived the same life as me. Remember, we met in a homeless shelter. So going back to this situation, that week, you guys, I don't know if you're going to laugh or you're going to cry over some of this stuff, but I want you to think about critical thinking. And I did do some good things. The way I did it was very good. It was very smart. It's something I've used ever since. The ability to use your skills, even in a situation you've never been into, can be so vital. All right? So, that's not what Sophia asked you, Lori. Sophia didn't ask you what you would do as you, Lori. What would you do if you were in the same situation, Lori? Because I was not able to go home by law. That's the part being thrown into the pot. It wasn't that my family didn't. My family was there for me. Legally speaking, if I ever wanted to see my sisters again, I couldn't go home. All right? This is why you have to be understanding of other people. Because your situation isn't theirs. And I'm not trying to get you to understand your situation and what you would do. I'm trying to get you to take everything you have away from you and put yourself in my shoes. That's how you critically think. So, that week, this is what I experienced for the first time. These were all first for me. I saw a person doing heroin for the first time. I got molested by the same guy that night because he changed, because heroin does some screwed up shit to you. Or it lowers your inhibitions. He was a pervert. That made me that's what actually triggered my suicidal thoughts. What made me want to kill myself that night. Throw in that I have bipolar disorder, and I would not find out about my PTSD till 2005. So much of what I went through, I had to go through without even the knowledge of having PTSD. So I had no way to deal with my issues. See, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power because it's not just about the knowing of it. It's about how you're using it. Critical thinking. How are you using your knowledge? You don't have to have gone through the things that I went through or that Dwan went through for you to imagine yourself in that situation, in that scenario, because I'm giving it to you. I'm describing you exactly the situation. The reason why you'll never hear me, and I used to do this a lot, and it's wrong-headed to do it this way. The reason why I don't look at you guys and go, well, you can't help anybody. You've never been homeless. You can't really help a homeless person. You might give them $1, but you're not really helping them. Then let them stay with you. If you think you're helping a homeless person by giving them $1, then you're missing the point. They're homeless. Okay. How can you help them? Well, that's why these things are important. There are ways you can help them. You can give them advice, show them shelters, be their friend, give them motivation, because homelessness does something to your motivation that's amazingly bad. But I'm not even talking about those situations. I'm talking about even in situations in which you have to leave the house because your house is on fire. Just because your house ain't burned down doesn't mean you can't help that their house did burn down. Right? What I try to do with you guys is I try to educate you guys on what is and what not, on what your viewpoint is. Facts. Facts are your ammunition. Facts are your defense. So take this situation right here. I had zero knowledge of the city. I had zero knowledge of cities in Texas, let alone of anything else. I was in Wisconsin. I was raised in Wisconsin. Well, how did I get through this, guys? And I'm not picking on Lori because a lot of people do this. Having the knowledge that Lori has her family doesn't help me. I'm so happy for you, Lori, that you've never been in a situation in which you didn't have your family. Good for you. That's helpful to everyone. It is not helpful to anyone. That's why I'm trying to get you to think in another person's shoes. So when I come to a person that has a problem or come to a person that doesn't have a solution, I ask a lot of questions. I try to ask, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? I want to be in your shoes so I can make the decision in your shoes. I don't want to give you a wrong answer because I decided to give you an opinion. So, for example, take Lori. Let's just use her for a second. I lived in the country when I was young, but I'm not a country bumpkin. Not anymore. Not in a long, long, long time. So if I have some advice, I will go to Sophia so she can ask Poppy, or I will go to Lori if I have some question about country stuff and whatever it is, because Lori wasn't an adult and still lived in the country. But as a kid, you're not going to look at things the same way as you do as an adult. So if you were a kid and you lived in the country and you moved to the city, I don't really care about your country advice. But if you were an adult, which is why Lori talks about her life in the country and talks about these things, and I talk to her all the time about different things that she went through. You know, she tells me some funny stories about animals and stuff that she had to deal with. But I have to have that information. Because what I try to do is I try to put myself in someone's shoes. Let's see. What does little Sophia say? Okay. Sophia says, being in those shoes, I think I would have made many errors. I would seek advice, but then what is the correct advice? Okay. That is a very, very good question. Believe it or not, I'm actually getting to that. Good job, Sophia. She's not even in this room, and she didn't realize I was going towards that direction. Sophia just brought up something interesting. I'll read this to you guys again. This is what Sophia just wrote. Being in those shoes, I think I would have made many errors. I would seek advice, but then what is the correct advice? Okay, see, that's the thing. It could be multiple directions, actually. However, the idea is you're gathering information, especially in a scenario like this, where I had zero knowledge of the situation I was really in. So let me tell you what I did. I couldn't seek advice. I could not seek advice. Who was I going to? I just told you I rejected the homeless shelter. And I sure as hell wasn't going back to the hospital. You could not have convinced me of that. Now, I can tell you now that was the correct decision. However, let's just address that. Daryl by the way, I had no shoes, just so you know. Literally, I was shoeless. Shoeless Joe Daryl, I don't know, something. One of my talents, I just told you, is I know geography. So what I did at first is I stuck around the only place I had ever been in downtown Dallas, and that was the West End. Now, that was when the West End was fun. But I stuck in the West End, and I started learning the streets one at a time. And I used another talent of mine, my memorization skills, to memorize the street names. And I began to slowly expand outwards. Okay? That's how I got through a lot of... Keep in mind, I used this tactic in every city I've ever had to be homeless in. So I was homeless there. I was homeless in Minneapolis for the first time, not long later. And then I moved to Harrisburg. Never been to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. About less than a year later, in the springtime of 1998. That's where I met my ex-wife. And I sure didn't know anything about Pennsylvania. So I used the same tactic in all of these scenarios. So I used my ability to memorize street names. Now here's a question. That doesn't really answer how I got through it. Well, we haven't got through it. It's a very complicated situation, don't you think? Don't you think this is a little bit complicated? But first, there's survival. How did I survive? It was a little different in each place I would go to. But I started, let me add to the pot this right here. I was very shy. I had a very low self-esteem. So let's add that to the pot. Well, let me tell you a secret that's not really so much a secret. When you're starving and you're desperate, you're going to get over your shyness real damn quick. And I didn't need advice. My stomach gave that to me. So that first week that I was homeless in Dallas, I had to suck it up and start asking people for change. Okay? And trust me, at first it took almost starvation for me to get the balls, pardon my French, to do this. So the first week that I was homeless, I didn't eat a lick. I was homeless for about 2 weeks. So the first week I was homeless, I didn't eat anything. Nothing. I couldn't. It took to the length of starvation to get me to ask for change. And I'm still that way to this day. In fact, my friend Tanya, if she's on here, I don't know if Tanya's on here. Tanya helped me out today. You know, today, I asked Tanya, I asked her if she had a little bit of money she could borrow me. And even at 46 years old, after everything I've been through, it takes me so much to ask someone for money or help. And these are all these years later. So trust me, it was way worse back then. But I didn't eat for the first week. And then when I did eat, it was just small little pittance, small little things. Back in the day before inflation and all these high prices, I could get a couple candy bars, a couple sodas for about $1, $1.50. Isn't it amazing how prices used to be? I digress. But do y'all follow me? So it took me to the end of all desperation to begin to learn how to begin to change to my new normal. It's a phrase I use all the time. And a lot of people use it, but this is the way I use this. When change happens, you have to convince yourself of your new normal. You have to, because if you don't, it can drive you insane. Really. Okay? So your new normal can be so significantly different than anything that you've been through, that it may take you a little bit. In this case, it was homelessness, and just not just homelessness. It was the barrage of just different things I was having to go through. But there's a brain process that goes on in your head. You have to learn it in all ways. So no matter what situation you get in, you can survive it first and then learn it. You have to survive maybe a situation, and then you have to learn it. No matter what happens, you do have to learn it, though. So, for example, when I'm out of pain medication, and I know that I'm about to suffer badly, that's my new normal, and I have to talk to myself. I have to tell myself. I have to just be strong, because I know I'm about to suffer. It's like that with everything. It's like that with good things. It's like that with bad things. So when I talk about the ingredients, this is where it's vital. When you're critically thinking and you have to think in the moment. And you say, well, not everybody's very quick on their feet. That's true. We're not talking about brain skills, though. How do you get quicker on your feet? You get quicker on your feet by knowing the subject matter. And that is across the board, no matter what you're doing, no matter what subject you're speaking on. Why do you hear in sports, well, we need to work on the basics. So even skilled players have to work on the basics. Because you may be great at catching a football, but if you don't practice it, you're going to not catch it as well. In this case, I haven't been homeless in a long time. If I was ever forced to be homeless, first of all, it would be awful for me now. But if I was forced to be homeless, here's what I know. It would take me it would take me a little bit to get used to it again. I've already thought about it. Okay, especially since Dwan has passed. Because if Sophia passes, I'll end up having to make some very serious choices about my life. But my life has changed. I'm older. I can't walk very well. So there's things that I can't just go back to the last time I was homeless and go, oh, well, I can just continue doing the things I did. No. I can guarantee you I'm patient enough to check myself into a homeless shelter. I can guarantee you that I'm not going to go around walking around panhandling unless I absolutely have to. That part of my life is done. I know that I cannot do it anymore. All right. So I know that it would suck, but I know I would survive it, and I would make sure that I'm doing the proper steps because I'm more mature. I'm not so quick to think and do bad things. There's all sorts of things that I know that I would be safer. It would be awful, but the more and more I think about if I would ever be in a situation like that, and you say, well, Daryl, why would you think like that? Do you think that the folks that just had their whole town burned down in the Palisades in California thought they would ever be homeless? Mel Gibson lost his house. You say, well, he has money. That's right. That's the way you should think about it. Oh, he's rich, so it's okay he can lose a house. That's the way you think of it. That's pretty bad. Probably you should stay away from me. I find that sort of attitude really disgusting because they're rich. It's not devastating. But not everybody's rich over there. Some of those people lost everything. How do you switch to your new normal? You do have to be strong. So forth and so on. And this is with anything, y'all. The ingredients and the steps are not just a theory. Sometimes you do it naturally on things you do every day. You don't even realize it. So the ingredients, for example. But with everything that is going on in this country, there's a lot of people losing their stuff because of inflation, or because they lose their job, or whatever it may be, or they get sickly and they start to not be able to go to work as much, and then they end up having to lose their house and they have to move. These are decision making. You have to make logical decision making, and some people are not good at it because they don't want to be good at it. So, for example, let me give you a scenario that I have not been through, mainly because I've never had my own place. Let me give you a scenario that people go through all the time, that they make the incorrect decision all the time, and they can't even help it. It's a mind frames change. So, for example, let's say you have a guy or a girl, and they're living in an apartment, and all of a sudden they lose their job. And they've had a certain way that they've been living. Maybe they haven't really saved up money or whatever, but more importantly, they've had a paycheck coming in, and they're used to going to the Starbucks every single day. Well, now they don't have a job. How many times do you guys hear a person go, well, now I can't get my Starbucks? That's the first thing you think about? You can't get your Starbucks? It's a bit silly, don't you think? You just lost your job. If you don't find a way to pay your rent, I wouldn't worry about your Starbucks. You see, that's the problem. That's just one little scenario in which the people do that all the time, and you can't explain it to them. They get mad at you because, well, I can't live like that. You can't live without your coffee? Don't ask me for money then. If you're not willing to think logically, it is not my responsibility to give you your Starbucks. Now, I have never had my own place, but here's something that I've been preparing for when I do. One of the things about having bipolar disorder that's so awful, okay, excuse me, sorry, I'm reading what Sophia said. So one of the things that's awful about having bipolar disorder is our inability to not get distracted. Remember, no distractions. Hello, kind of hard to follow the no distractions things when everything's a distraction, But more importantly, the inability to not be compulsive. Okay? So I used to be really compulsive. So saving money is not a word, not even something we want to hear if we have our issues like we do. Well, guess what? I've known that I needed to save stuff for this business. In other words, I've known that Sophia's moving to Minnesota, and if I did not figure out a way to somewhat have a safety net for me, that I'm in deep, deep, deep trouble. Well, thus lies in the problem. Daryl can't save money. Or I couldn't. Or at least I told myself that. So, trying to follow Dave Ramsey's, his steps, I had to finagle his steps for me. Now, I have every intention upon doing the first step of his steps, but doing it in that order was not going to happen. I was never going to be able to save enough money, save back $1,000, and have it in the open where I can get to it. I was never not going to grab that money. Yeah, I tried it a couple times last year, or not last year, technically it's 2025 now, so uh, 2023, at the end of 2023. In fact, I gave my first amount of money to Sophia on the bus on the way home from Colorado when me and Dwan were coming home. And it's 3 straight months I did that, and I couldn't keep a dime in that little thing. And it started to frustrate me because I'm thinking, God, I need a Roth IRA. So then I started thinking, I've got to rethink this for Daryl. I got to redo this a little bit. So what I did was, in March of last year, I had Sophia open up. Listen to what I just said. I had Sophia open me up a Roth IRA. Why? So I can't get to it. Simple as that. And every month since that day, I have given her money every month. Now, a couple people have helped me, but for the most part, I've saved that money. And I have going on $4,000 in that account. To the point where I'm going to help Sophia get her a car. I was able to save enough money where I think I'm going to be able to help put a little down payment on a car for Sophia. And I'm very proud of that. And I told Sophia, just let me do it. Please let me do it. Because it's maybe the only time I'll ever do something like this for somebody. Because she's done so much for me. But every month, I put $300 in there. I'm hoping to put more as every year SSI raises the money they give me. And so I want to put a little bit more. And if I start making money doing this, that will go in there. See what happened? I could have quit. I could have just said, forget it. I'm just not going to try to save any money. Yeah, that would have got me a lot of places. No, I had to change it a little bit. I had to tweak it. It's not a rejection of advice if I have to tweak it, if I want to do what you're telling me to do, but I need to tweak it so it fits for, maybe there's a specific spot, in this case, the inability to have cash in my hand. So now what I can do is, I can take $1,000 out of that account, put that somewhere, and now I know I can keep it because I've practiced. One thing Dave Ramsey was talking about with his steps about saving money is, the reason why he does it this way is so that he's training your mind to get used to saving money. Well, it worked, Dave. Thank you. Because now I know that all I have to do is get her to draw out $1,000, put that somewhere, and I know I won't touch it. But I needed to do it just to tweak it just a little bit over here. You have to be able to critically think. Because if you know someone's right about something, but it just doesn't quite fit in a certain area, fix it then. Turn it to your own. Especially in a situation like this where I had to critically think. Sophia is moving to Minnesota. I had to figure this out, critically thinking. And I'm very proud of myself for it. So now I'm able to return the favor and help Sophia out when she gets a car. Do you know how proud that makes me? I mean, there was no way that was possible before. I mean, I might have been able to give her some money a month to get a car or something, to pay payments, but never pay a down payment on a car. I'm very proud of that, man. And all because I had to retrain my mind. You have to retrain your mind. You can't be so hard-headed that, well, I've done it this way all my life. So? I'm 46 years old, never been able to save a dime in my life, and I have almost $4,000 saved. Even after drawing $700 out in October or November of last year. I'm doing a good job, and I'll continue to do this job. I'll continue to do it this way. I'm very proud of it. you know? Um, right? And so that's just an example of something. Now I'm going to get off here, and I'm going to try to finish the video, the continue finishing the videos I've been doing. What I want to leave you guys on is this. So Monday, I'll be releasing the no distractions video, and we're going to be continuing these conversations. I want to start training your mind to start to be able to critically think properly. And one of those things is you have to be able to change your ways. I don't care about your education. I don't care about whether you were educated in Yale or whether you're educated in Wisconsin on a farm. Just because you were educated a certain way doesn't mean it can't be done another way. Does that make sense? It's a thing I guess I think I'm proudest of myself on that was not a possibility before, that I am so willing to listen to others and really try their way. And there are some times when I have to go, okay, well, I know that part was not going to work for me, but then I understand what they're trying to teach me, so I try to figure out what they're trying to teach me and figure out and put it in a way. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like in other words, they're trying to teach me a way to do something, but this specific part of it isn't going to work for me. So maybe I try to figure out a way to do that part of it, that concept, in a different way. See, that's how teamwork is done. Right? See, that's all that me and Dwang were ever trying to do. We're not trying to tell you what to do. We're trying to show you a different way of thinking. This thing that me and him were doing and that I'm doing now isn't about giving you a certificate to help you feel better about yourself so you can show your mommy and daddy. This is about literally you having a problem, you having a different thing that you need to do, and me helping you do it and become a better person because of it. Not understanding other people is going to be the quickest way that you get, well, not the information you want. Do you understand what I'm saying? In other words, a lot of times, especially older folks have a problem with this. The older we get, the more we get hard-headed and we think that, well, I've done that before, you youngin'. Do you actually think that your old ass could outsmart someone like Elon Musk? Or what about his team that are 19 and 20 years old? We're facing this right now. You got a bunch of these old ass congressmen and congresswomen and senators and stuff like that, age shaming these 18, 19, 20-year-old men who are helping Elon Musk help your taxpayer dollars to try to make sure that your money's going to the right things or not being spent at all. And because they're younger, all of a sudden, they don't know what they're doing. Did you know that one of those 19-year-olds ran 4 businesses at 16 years old? How many businesses have you run? Do you see where I'm going with this? You're kind of out of your league. And so when you look at people like that, you're not opening up your head. You're not opening up your brain. You're not opening up your mind. This world is not an easy place to get through anyways. But for you as a person, for you to say, well, I know everything, that there's nothing that you're so perfect that there's nothing you can change. Shame on you. That's all I got to say to you. Shame on you. You're talking to a guy with bipolar disorder and PTSD that's had to change everything about himself. When Dwan was alive, you're talking to a person with cerebral palsy that had to change everything about himself. Where you think you're better than me? You're not. And nor am I better than you. We're a team. We're people. We're human beings, and we want this world to be better. We want our neighborhoods to be better. We want our families to be better, and ourselves to be better, and our children to be better, and our grandchildren to be better. Don't reject advice out of hand just because you've done it before. Because you never know when that person could be the very reason why you survive a situation. So, we're going to continue this conversation tomorrow and end the week well. Then on Monday, I'll release that video on Facebook on Sunday, though. And so we'll get to talk about no distractions. We'll continue on this, what we're doing here, because no distractions is still talking about this. And I'm going to just start giving you guys just different tidbits of information on how to critically think properly. Not all in giant doses, but all in small little doses so you guys get it over time. All right? So, hope you guys have a wonderful night. Truly. Be safe when you're driving. Be safe when you get there. You never know what you may find. Be aware of your surroundings. Be understanding of what you. Be understanding of other people, especially from their perspective. It's not about your perspective. If you're trying to understand what a person is going through, it's not about you and what you've been through. It's about them and what they've been through. Put yourself in their shoes and try to understand. Be understanding of yourself, that you have limits. Everyone has limits. Some people can't deal with life on life's terms. There are many people out there that deal with life every day, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. There are many people who deal with life every single day by zoning out and watching TV at nighttime, and they don't ever think about their day at all. Or they'll drink themselves into existence, or they'll get high every night. I need to get high. I need to get drunk. Then you're not having forward progress. That's not an opinion. One of the things that I want to discuss in one of the videos coming up is codependency and depending upon other things other than yourself to get by through things. You have to rely on your knowledge and your ability to get through it, not just your homeboys or your family or your alcohol or your drugs. You have to do it. You. If you're doing it for any other reason than for your progress, then you're not progressing. You're doing it for other people. And what happens when those other people begin to die? What happens when you don't have access to whatever it is that is inebriating you? What are you going to do? I had my whole family taken from me. I had to learn how to survive. Are you me? No. Am I asking you to go be me? No. But I'm trying to show you how to think because you're not in that situation, so you can be a better person in the situation in which you have a place, you have a job, and those sorts of things. So that in a working scenario in which you're at work or whatever, in which someone may have a problem, you can solve it quicker and faster. And that's what I want to continue to discuss with you guys. So you guys have a wonderful weekend. Remember that life is fleeting. You're not promised your next breath. Take yourself, go outside your box, learn something new. You never know what you may learn about yourself. And until tomorrow, may the Lord light guide you in all things.